Hey guys, welcome back to Tomcat Airguns. What I've got in front of me today is a bunch of toolkits from Wheeler Engineering. The scope leveling kit, the torque wrench, and a whole mess of Allen keys, P-handle Allen keys. If you're anything like me, I go through guns quite a bit. They're coming and going, revolving door type of thing. And same thing with scopes. I'm always mounting, dismounting, moving scopes around, and I wanted a better way to mount those scopes accurately and properly per the manufacturer's recommendations. And specifically when I say that, I'm talking about torque settings, which is why I got the F.A.T wrench in front of me here. So I just kind of got tired of the guesswork, and I wanted to use something a little more precise. I noticed Steve at AEAC, he uses the scope leveling kit for all his reviews. I was there when he was told about it, and he was like, oh, I have to get this right now. And he's obviously liking it because you see it in so many of his pictures and videos. So I'm going to try it out and see how I like it. Show you guys how to use it as well. So some of you guys might be thinking, Allen keys, really, dude? Well, yeah, and here's why. I have a tendency to lose my standard L keys, or I'll be searching. I don't know if whatever I'm mounting is SAE or metric, and I'm starting to pull keys, and then I grab the other one, and I'm starting to pull keys, and you never put them back when you're in the middle of the project. You'll just scatter them around the bench. So that got annoying. That's one of those things that I was just tired of. These are nice because they're marked. It's going to be easy to decipher. You know, is it SAE or metric? Or Torx is its own level of stuff. But the other thing is, even the whole set I will misplace, and I'll put somewhere, and now it's because it's nice and small and compact, I'll misplace it. These are dedicated. They're going to sit in one spot in the shop, and that's it. So that's why I was excited about these. Now, am I going to take this to competition? No, I'm not. It's dedicated for the shop. That's where it's going to stay. And even if I take one of these out into the actual shop, it stands out. It stands out as this oddball thing that shouldn't be there on the bench top, and I'll know it's like, hey, I got to put that back. But no, if I'm traveling, doing a competition, I'll take my my compact set. So let's take a look at using the Wheeler scope leveling kit. I dismounted my scope, took the level off it, so I'm starting fresh with this. First thing you're going to want to do is, well, with the new gun, these won't be on here, but you want a clean rail. This guy's not going to bother me for this at all. Next thing you want to do is level the gun this way as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but wow, that was a good shot. But close is good enough for that. Next, you're going to want to level the gun this way. So I'm about to clamp something onto my barrel. And for a lot of you, you spend a lot of money on your rifles. Is this going to scratch the gun? No, it's not. They've got this rubber padding inside. So just make sure it's clean. There's no debris on there or on your barrel. And then you slide. Oh wait, you don't have to slide it on because the leg pops off. So put your level in place, leg back in place, and then snug down on the thumb nuts here. You want to get this close to center. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's what this is about. Come back here, double check your rear one to make sure everything's level there, and then unscrew this a little, screw it in a little bit, and that bubble goes right to center. Now that this is locked down and level, I can remove this one, and I can get busy putting my scope mount back on. Now that things are starting to take shape, scope's still loose in here, I can start torquing down on these here. But what torque setting? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm not going to tell you what your specific torque setting is going to be. Go online to the website for your scope rings. In this case, it's Sports Match. and look it up. It should be on their website what they recommend. I've seen 66, I've seen 45, I've seen 15, depending on, usually these are a little bit lower, and these ones here are a little bit higher of a torque setting. In my case, it's going to be, let's see here, 42 inch-pounds. So I'll grab my wrench, and the way this works is you pull down and twist, pull and twist, until I can hit 42. Oh, that's too much. There we go, it's set in place. Now I'll torque down my dovetail rings. Done. Done. And just like that, now I know that my rings are per the manufacturer's spec recommendation. Maybe this doesn't matter so much, but I've read online that having these equally torqued down, it does matter. You got one over here just really cranked, and maybe you take a bump or a hit or something, it might throw your scope off just that like minute little tiny bit. So this is where I really want that torque wrench to be just right. Alright, now this is set. Now the Wheeler, they say to put this right up here and then level your scope. I'm going to tell you, make sure that your turret cap is locked down. If it's one of those ones that pops up, make sure it's locked in the, it's down in the locked position. Because when it comes up, it's making an adjustment, so it might be a little bit wobbly up there, it might be tilted a little bit. But now once this is in place, now I can find my wrench and snug down on these. The way you want to do this is a crisscross pattern. Okay, I like to get my first two set so that my base of my ring and the top of my ring, it's not doing this. Okay, you don't have a huge gap on one side and nothing on the other side. I like to snug them just where that screw is grabbing, nice and even. I make all my little adjustments right here in the beginning, and then I can go to town on tightening everything up. Okay, now that I've got these just to the point of touching, I double check my level up here. I'm still looking good. Check my level here. I'm looking good. Now watch this level here. I'll show you how easy it is to throw your scope off. It's almost that's like barely any tension. And you can see that bubble moving around. That's how easy it is to throw your scope off, and that's why it's important to do this slowly and methodically. Because until you get these snugged down, you risk just throwing your scope off just that little bit. Once I get a fair amount of tension on them, and if you're using something like this, remember that your tension, your force is multiplied by this coming way out here versus wherever they are, the little L wrenches. You know, you can really feel that tension add up a lot quicker. So now I'll go back to my wrench. Oh, that's still set for 40. That's way too much. So at this point, I could just start taking everything off and putting it away. However, I like using scope mounted levels, anti-cant devices, however you look at them. So I'm going to take this opportunity while this is still on here to put this on and get it set and get it level, so I don't have to try to do that later on. With my scope mounted level attached to the scope and locked down, I can put all my stuff away. Just detach this, unscrew it, and flip it out of there. A couple things on setup and accuracy, I guess, on this is for this, you don't have to reset it every time. You can kind of leave it alone, but if you see this gap here start closing down to nothing, you're going to want to take it out and kind of have it on that level playing field as much as possible. And with the level that goes back here or on your rail, there are some trim adjustment screws here. So you're going to want to start that off on a known good level that you own already, and make sure that it's right. Another way you can do that is if you have a set of calipers, you can measure this distance and measure this distance. If you have a variation there, take that variation out and you should be perfectly level to the bottom. Well guys, that's the Wheeler way of mounting a scope to your rifle. If you like some of the stuff I showed you, hit the like button, subscribe, share, do all that happy good stuff. But most importantly, get out to the range, get shooting. With that said, I gotta get some shooting in. As always, thanks for watching and happy shooting. Hey guys, I was just cleaning up here and I remembered the last step. It's a really important step and you want to make sure to do this after you've got everything set in place. The way it works is go down range and set up what's called a plumb bob. And that's basically a weight tied to a rope and attached to a fixed point. That's really it. You just hang, make sure you got a weight on the bottom to keep it perfectly lined up and pointed at the center of the earth. An alternative to this is going to be to grab a level and go to your target downrange or a wall or something and just draw a straight line. You can do it this way or that way, it doesn't really matter. Then get back to your gun and look at that line. You want to make sure that your gun is perfectly level. Look down through your scope and make sure that your reticle is perfectly lined up with the line you drew or the plumb bob. Got to be perfect. If it's tilted off, that could mean a couple of things. Maybe during this whole process, something got screwed up somewhere. Revisit the process. Another thing it can mean is that your reticle is not perfectly lined up with your top turret. Is that a defect? If that's something else going on, maybe the top of your turret maybe the top of your turret isn't perfectly flat, and that's kind of where things got screwy. And in the case of the plumb bob, if you find that your reticle's kind of doing this, it just means the wind's blowing. So again guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy shooting!